I was corrected by you one time and said your last name is Culin. You pronounce it Culin?
Culin. Got it wrong. It's Culin.
Culin. Okay.
It's his last name.
Well, that's not the only thing I've got wrong tonight, so bear with me. Anyhow, I've been after Billie for years and years and years. When I first met her, we got into conversation about something, and then I knew she was a Vietnam veteran. She was telling me a little bit about her background, and the thing that just tricked my ears was when I found out that she was the direct personal secretary of General Westmoreland, and I thought it's during Vietnam, the Vietnam time frame.
At the end of Vietnam. Well,
Okay.
well, not the end of Vietnam, but the end of his tour.
His tour, his command tour. And I've been after her for years and years and years. I finally had an opening because she asked me to speak to her group, told me I had 15 minutes, so I had to make it real quick, which I did do. I think I finished on
You were
that.
pretty darn good.
Yeah. So anyhow, she said, yeah, I'll come. But these are so important parts of our history, and there are a lot of folks in this room that have served in Vietnam. And I can't list you all, but some of you have been speakers. Frank has been a speaker. He's sitting way back there in the back. So we've had a lot of important folks. Anyhow, I'm going to read a brief bio, and then you're on. She established and started and was the president up until what time?
The chapter?
Yes.
April this year.
April of this year. She started the chapter and she was the president of chapter 1043 of the Vietnam Veterans of America, which is located in Sun City. And you're still a member and a past president.
Still a member and past president, and the chapter's been named after me.
Oh, well, congratulations.
The only problem is they usually name name a company or something after someone after they died, so I'm praying I don't have to.
State Council President in Connecticut up until 2010. Secretary, Conference of State Presidents.
Conference of State Council Presidents at the national level.
Okay, and then, because I don't have all that verbiage on here. She also is part of some national committees, Agent Orange, the Constitution, Women Veterans, Veterans Against Drugs. So all of those she's, except for the one on the Constitution, I think you're still currently a part of, is that correct? Other involvements have been the Connecticut Veterans Coalition. She was a secretary, American Legion, Society of 40 and 8. I'm not sure.
The Society of 40 and 8 is an elite part of the American Legion. An elite part of the American Legion, you're selected to belong to.
Okay. Disabled American Veterans, which I think we're all familiar with here. Member of the Northwest Valley Veterans Association of Arizona. There's community involvement. On her educational part here, she did get her Bachelor's of Science in Business Management. Congratulations. We're in the same brother and sisterhood here, although not the same college. And that's from the Mercy College in Dobbs Ferry, New York, correct? Let's see, worked in the Veterans Office 2 nights a week to assist veterans with their educational benefits, which is really pretty important. You would think that'd be understood, but I don't think it is. Occupation, and up until 2008, you sold insurance.
No, did not sell insurance.
It says insurance agency. Okay.
Well, I work in an insurance agency. I was a
counselor, it looks like.
a what?
A
Customer
counselor?
service agent. Counselor.
Counselor, yeah.
Certified insurance.
Okay.
If I don't remember things, I'm sorry.
That's okay. No. The military part is United States Army from January 10th, 1969 through May 10th, 1971. She was selected as the top stenographer in 5th Army area to be the secretary, Joint Chiefs of Staff in the Pentagon, Washington, D.C. And we call that affectionately, us from a distance, the Supreme Puzzle Palace.
Yeah.
Which probably has other colorful names too. Awards is Chapel of the Four Chaplains, Legion of Honor, Member of the Year, Chapter 120, and soars with Eagles Award from Maine. Is that South Carolina?
No,
State of Maine.
Maine, the
That's
state of
Maine.
Maine.
America.
State of Maine State Council, sorry.
Okay, got it. And with that, I think I've,
He said it all, it was nice talking to
and if you'll please use the mic, because some of us
you.
are
Is it
better
on?
than
Can you hear me?
Nope.
Please
No.
say you can hear me. I hate using microphones, I truly do. So if this slowly goes down, I will too. As Bill said, he approached me I think we met at the Veterans Home, one of the fundraising or whatever we did there. I
It
went
was
in,
for
I
women.
went in the,
It was for women.
Women, yeah,
We
it
visited-
was,
Yeah,
yeah.
that was a good.
I read poetry to the women who were in the hospital. They really put a lot in. So, and it was Mother's Day that we did that. In 1968, I thought about going into the Army. I'm from an Army family. My dad was in the Army. Didn't spend much time around military people, but my life was kind of disarray. I didn't know what I wanted to do, and at that point I didn't have an education except for high school. So I decided in December of 1968 to join the Army. I did so without my mom knowing. When I came home and told her so, I might as well have not come home. But anyway, on January 10th, I went Brooklyn, I think that's where I went, under the bridge, and got inducted into the Army. And originally I was supposed to go in for computer training, but came time for Billie to come along, and we don't have any more openings. I guess you'll have to go into secretarial school. No, sorry, that comes later. Into teletype operator. Oh God, well, I didn't even know what a teletyper was. So anyway, I went to basic training at Fort McClellan. I hated the whole time. Went down to Fort Gordon, Georgia, and a 10-week course I had shortened to 8 weeks because I already knew how to type, so they advanced me. I learned about what a teletype machine did. Well, they sent me out to Fort Riley, Kansas. It's the hellhole of the Army. It's where the big red one is from. I was attached to the 138th Engineer Group, and I was the secretary to their colonel, and I called myself the clerk's clerk. And I hated the job. It was boring. I did nothing all day long. Nothing. I couldn't even peddle papers around. I did nothing. So I went to my CO and I said, is there a possibility that I can have a change in my training? I really don't like what I'm doing. And so she says, okay, what do you want to do? And I said, I think I'd like to become a stenographer. That's something I've never done before. So I got the orders and I went for 4 months training at Fort Van Harrison in Indianapolis, Indiana, through the winter, and it was so cold there. A number of people there actually had frostbite so bad that they lost fingers. That's how bad it was. But I did the 10-week course, and guess where I went after that? Fort Riley, Kansas. So I was back at Fort Riley about a month and a half, not even 2 months, and I'm walking up the stairs, pulling off my tie to change out into my civvies, and Specialist Kiefert, report to the CO's office. I go, oh shit, what did I get into now? So I put my tie back on and I went back in, and the commanding officer, whose name I can't remember to this day, she was blonde, that's all I remember, very blonde. Bleach bottle blonde. The women know what I'm talking about. But anyway, to have me stand in front of her, and she says, Specialist Kiefer, you've been called on special orders to be General Westmoreland's secretary in the Pentagon.
Wow.
You were selected as the top stenographer in the Fifth Army area. I nearly fell over at that point, but then the question, do you want the job? And I said, yes, ma'am, when do I leave? She said, 10 days. I had 10 days to clear post. I did it though, I couldn't wait to leave. I went to the, I think you guys have gone to On the Post to get travel orders. Okay. I went to get my travel orders, and the young lady that was sitting on the other side of the desk, civilian, she hands me tickets, and I'm looking at this. This is not right. I'm not going to, I forget what I really, that's why I don't like these things. Huh? No, I wasn't going to Fort Myers, Florida. I was going to Fort Myers in Arlington, Virginia. She had me going south. I said to her, that's an awful long drive every morning to go to work. So we got that straightened out, and I got to D.C. Stayed in the barracks at Fort Myers, and I'm telling you all this stuff because you really don't want to care what I'm going to tell you. But it was great duty, and I loved it all. I took a bus to go to work every morning at 8 o'clock and came home every afternoon at 4. Short day, nice days. But you spend an hour going on the bus back and forth. Don't do that to me. I don't feel like watching the carpet. When my first initiation into this Joint Chiefs of Staff was, I was scared. I was a young woman, and something I never experienced, to be in this great big humongous building that I got lost in many times. Which, by the way, if you guys go to the Pentagon, on the 4th level before, there's a whole complete shopping mall, which is wonderful. Underground. But I'll tell you a little bit about that. But anyway, it took, I guess it was 4.5 weeks before my final top secret clearance came through. They interviewed all my friends, you know. My friends called me, hey Billie, did you know? Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, they were asking me, who do I go to bed with? I didn't go to bed with anybody. You know, they asked everything under the sun. But anyway, I finally got to officially meet my boss. He's a nice guy, or he was a nice guy, God rest his soul. He was a very tight person. I think he was more scared for your lives than you were scared for your lives. He literally hated what he had to put you guys through. Well, I went through so many meetings where he disagreed about the movements that were being made, that the numbers, he kept seeing the numbers of the men and women that were, I say women, they're not that many, but were killed in Vietnam, and the numbers coming home so badly injured. And every night, every morning when I went to work, I'd open the safe, take out my cassette from my typewriter, stick it in, and start work. Came 5 minutes to 4 every single day, take the cassette out of my typewriter and put it in the safe. I had, what was that kind of typewriter called? Selectric. Thank you. My husband knows better than me, he wasn't even there. The Selectric was on a type of ribbon that you could read if you hold it up. And that was the reason for it going to the safe. Everything had to be kept top secret. I wasn't allowed to talk about anything that I did during the day, except for I talked, had lunch, I typed, you know. God bless you.
Thank you.
Did some steno too.
A lot of steno. Yeah, a lot of steno. But Is it an experience that I will forget? No. Is it an experience I will forever hate? Yes and no. I love the job for itself. I love the man I worked for. He cared about every single one of you guys. Things are being done that I didn't know were being done behind the scenes, but then would come around to me because I had to type them. And I'll give you for instance, the M16, if I remember right, is a repeater. Okay. The one before an M15 was not a repeater. The M15 rifles, right, single. The F-15s were given to the RVNs that were out there helping us. What help are they if they have one shot have to reload? He was asking that the RVN that were helping, they wouldn't approve it. He finally went on a tirade, and they got them. There was no reason why. All the way up to the president, no, they can't have it. Why? They thought they were going to go against us. Jesus, we're trying to save these people, and they're fighting what they chose him to be the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He didn't choose it. He was doing his job, and he was doing his job right. And anyway, I served my tour of duty. Came May 10th, 1971, and was bye, and it was gone. Rest is history. That's it.
And I'm sure you're going to have some questions here. You know, one of the things, because I had asked you, what was your impression of him? And you said, first, he was a very nice man.
Yes.
And the second thing you said, but he was very conflicted.
He was, because there were days you didn't know, oh, I don't like you, Bill.
You turned it on. I turned that.
What?
I think you turned it on.
I did, and I laid it down. And I said, I don't like you, Bill. Conflicting is yes, because you never knew what kind of meetings he had been to. He did, you know, I knew him different than a lot of other people because I was the secretary. I knew he was a caring man, but when he stood out there in front of everybody, he had to be sharp, he had to be straight. He had literally lied to himself because these are things that he didn't want to do. But all I can say is you couldn't have asked for a better head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He cared about you, and that's the one big thing that always sticks in my mind. And I had fights with him, just like I do with my husband.
They're called discussions.
Fights.
Like I say, we have several Vietnam veterans throughout this audience.
And a number of them are my friends.
That's right, that's right. So it wasn't kind of, you had an audience you hadn't seen before. But I would like them to ask questions that you have related to what your involvement was and how you were perceiving things in the field. Because how things go down, when they start at the top, it's like that old game where you sit in a circle and you whisper to the next person a sentence, and by the time you get to the last person, it's no way recognizable. So if you would, this is an opportune time to ask Billie if you've got some
And if
questions.
I don't know, I will tell you I don't know. Yes, sir.
I have a daughter, but I wonder about the draft. If they would have drafted women during that period, the war would have been different, because a lot of the women protested the war. I'm not saying all of them, but, and I have a daughter of my own, I wouldn't want her to get drafted other than not in the infantry. I was drafted, I was in the infantry. And I wouldn't, you know, women, I don't think, unless if they wanted to be. What's your opinion about women being drafted?
Now or during Vietnam?
Well, both, actually.
Right.
There is a draft now, but as far as.
There's not a draft now. Mm-mm.
Registration.
There was a draft then, but the women were not included. It was always the same all the way through. But I think the difference between then and now is the women are being prepared more and more to go into the front. Women weren't, except for the nurses and those who worked as medics. I don't think the draft would have worked, because we saw, female, how many men were being killed in Vietnam. We didn't want that for ourselves. I think that's being selfish, but guess what? My life is important to me. And I know your lives are important to you, but it takes a different frame of mind. Now, our children now, growing up, have been brought up in a different frame of mind. They go into the military, then women, make lifetime of it. If they're doing it now, they're on the front lines, they're fighting, and they're trained for it. We weren't trained for it. But they have the option now of being trained to be in the field or in a hospital, or like I was, a clerk in an office. You know, it was a choice then. Choice was you did what they said for you to do, but not overseas, unless you were a nurse. That's the only time you went over as a female, was as a nurse. And I think it was a total of 7 clerks who were in the general's office. So
One of my points is that when we were out in the field,
Mm-hmm.
some of the guys, after we were there a couple of months, they would get a letter from their wife or girlfriend wondering why they wouldn't come home even to visit. I mean, they couldn't do it. We had you couldn't just hop on a plane and leave there. But a lot of women didn't understand that. And they got their Dear Johns or whatever. And I'm commending you women who went in the military, but you were not allowed to be in the infantry or anything.
No.
But a lot of these women, couldn't understand, well, why doesn't he come home? Doesn't he love me? And
Uncle
a
Sam,
lot of
Uncle
those,
Sam
and a lot of
took over
those
our
women,
lives at that time.
a lot of those women were the ones who protested
Mhm.
the war and spit on the guys coming back who had been either drafted or joined so they wouldn't get drafted. But they were, a lot of the protesters were women, and a lot of the guys who protested along with them were protesting because they could be with the women.
Yeah. I don't know what else to say about that. Yes, sir.
I served under General Westmoreland, both in the States and in Vietnam, but with regard to him coming back after he was pulled back from Vietnam and took over chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, I think that's about the time you came into his life.
Mm-hmm.
And was he a bitter man over that? Because the biography I read on him was that he did not feel comfortable as the chief of staff, and ultimately he resigned and went into civilian life. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, I could see him bittered, because he was a very, very military man. And he handled the Joint Chiefs of Staff as a military office, which most of us were in uniform. I had to wear a uniform every day except for Wednesdays. Was no uniforms. Huh?
Casual day.
Casual day. They called it another day, but I can't remember what it was called. But I think he felt bitter towards the end because he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. And it's a major change to go from where he was up here just to be down one step. So he still was a brilliant man. He ran the office like a ship, even though he was in the Army. And he cared about, and my major thing is he cared about every single one of you.
Billy, that movie, We Were Soldiers, that Mel Gibson made,
Which one?
We Were Soldiers,
Yes.
did you get to see that movie, or
I've seen it, but it was so long ago.
was it?
Yeah.
Frank lived it. The fellow that just spoke to you, he was one of the pilots
Oh,
in
wow.
that action, so.
Well, I am proud to know you. I am. Smile. If I
Yeah.
can smile, you can smile.
Frank, I gotta share one story with you. Frank had mentioned when they were first on the mission, I think, you were, and I don't know if it was that particular battle, but when he had just landed, an NVA, I believe, popped up and shot at you, and your first reaction, you told the group, was, "Why is he shooting at me? I haven't done anything." And that lasted about a millisecond. Is that correct, Frank? Anyhow, it's, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, with your time, about 2 years time span in there, there had to be something that was just hilarious that happened to you.
Many different things that happened to me.
One of the stories you told me was when you went downtown at a protest and it dawned on you,
I didn't belong there.
You were in civics.
I was in uniform.
yeah,
What? Oh.
but because
No,
you're,
no, it wasn't downtown. I went home on leave. I know, turn on the speakerphone. I went home on leave, and my sister and I used to attend different clubs that we went to. And she says, "Well, why don't you go tonight in uniform?" I said, "What, are you crazy?" But I did, and boy, I got ostracized by the men and women who were at the club. So a lot of them knew me. And I said to my sister, I said, "Sandy, I'm getting out of here, bye." Went home, put on my blue jeans, went back, and I had a great evening. Even women in uniform were not looked on kindly. I flew in from Washington, D.C. to, I guess it was LaGuardia, Kennedy, I can't remember which one of those airports I flew into New York, and I did get spat upon. I didn't even know what was going on. And even funnier, I went in the bathroom to fix my hair and do all this stuff. I walked out of the airport and my mother walked right past me. She didn't even recognize me. My hair was short. When I went into the service, my hair was down to my hips. They cut it all off. I was thin at that time. Believe me, I was 40 pounds thinner when I came home. So that was good. The Army did made me even skinnier than I was. But people treated me oddly when I came in with my uniform on. I was proud to wear my uniform. And it's a pride from my heart to serve all the guys that were in the service and in harm's way. And I still serve them now. Yes, sir.
How did the general feel about the decisions being made by the politicians that he had to work for?
Hated them. Great big H. Hated. You come in, what kind of morning was? "Oh, I hate the government day." Yeah, every day, every day. He hated. They were trying to pull strings that they couldn't spring. They couldn't pull. They weren't listening to the Joint Chiefs. They weren't listening to the guys that were running the military, who have been most of them came out from boot and knew what they were doing. A lot of these politicians, they weren't like Eisenhower. Okay, they didn't go through shit and everything like you guys went, but they were trying to control everything, and it didn't stomach right with anybody who worked in the Joint Chiefs.
Yeah.
did he
Sounds
ever,
like today.
in his time there, was there a directive for him to do something that he just said, "I'm not doing that"? That is just crazy.
Yes, but he never voiced it to the staff.
Okay, so it was just something that happened, and
Well, it was talked at at a level higher than just the
Right.
staff.
So he didn't really do a lot of venting to the staff.
Pardon me?
Venting.
Oh, yeah,
didn't
he
tell-
did.
Did he?
Oh, yeah. There were days that, oh, Specialist Kiefer, please go away. Specialist Kiefer, come here, I need your help. Back and forth, back and forth. And you know, saying, why do we have to do it this way? I mean, he would say it would come out, but he'd never tell you what it was about. He was just venting and venting, and you could tell he was troubled. You could, on certain days, he would just sit at his desk. It's like his mind was boggled. I mean, he was thinking so hard. And can I tell you what he was thinking? No. And I don't think anybody, I don't even think his wife knew. I really don't. But
Did you know his wife?
did I know, I met her once. She was a very nice woman, she was. But, yes, sir.
Let me ask about your office. How was your office organized? Did you have, were you directly interfacing with him on a daily basis, or did you have undersecretaries to him, like colonels, assigned to him that he would give tasks to, and then with which you would interface, or were you totally involved all the time with him?
I was totally involved except for when it was behind closed doors. I took a lot of dictation. My husband, when we got married, told everybody I typed the Pentagon Papers? I answered, no, I did not. Oh, and I know. I said, I can't tell you, I have a top secret security clearance.
She said, I can't confirm it or deny it because I have top secret clearance. But I totally just made it up.
No, but if I did, I couldn't, but I didn't. But no, a lot of the communications, some of them are just so general that we did letters back and forth, we did requests for more arms, more personnel. That was one that's killing. There were 4 women in my office, and I was Westmoreland secretary, but we were all upset about the number of troops that are being ordered to go into Vietnam after seeing how many are being killed. It was just so unfair. I joined the war, so I joined the army so I could end the war. Didn't work. Sorry.
You did your part. Any other questions? Sandra?
Were you in one place when you were with Westmoreland? Were you in one office in one place, or did you?
I was in one place, and my counterpart Mary Day was in Saigon, and that's the only 2 offices that he had. Yes, ma'am.
Did you have a relationship with him afterwards? Did you keep in touch? Do you know anything about his life after he retired?
No, I don't. I do know that he died a terrible death, physically and mentally, but that's all I know.
One of the things, and I had Billie sign this tonight, is Time Magazine from, I didn't even look at the date. I made a copy of it. And there's a Vietnam map up here, if somebody wants to see that. May 5th, 1967. It's a picture of General Westmoreland saluting the Congress, Joint House of Congress. He is actually the only active duty general to do that. You recall that MacArthur also addressed the Joint House of Congress, but it was after he was retired. One of the other questions I was going to ask you, I don't think his wife ever stayed with him in Vietnam.
No,
Okay.
she did not.
Which is interesting because they gave MacArthur the liberty of taking his family, which was one son, I believe. So, well, thank you so much, Billie.
You know, can I say something?
Sure.
Where's that? It's on. If the United States government asked my husband, who's a general in the Army, if he wanted to take his family, his wife and 3 children with him to Vietnam, I'd shoot him first.
Thank you, Billie. Please see
Me to do something?
No, just sit right there.
Four-star general.
We had
The problem with that is that
I don't like this.
he's already living in the Philippines. I want to present this to you. This is a little plaque that in remembrance of your performance here tonight. The only problem is,
Spelled my last name wrong.
but you know what? How many L's are over here? How many E's are here? So I just got carried away. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I'm running out of places.
The other thing I wanted to mention, and we'll take your picture, we usually go to the back, we kind of group around you. This is a pretty good crowd here tonight. And if anybody else has got any suggestions or recommendations or highlighting anything that we've got coming up, I think, unfortunately, Jim approached me tonight. He's going to have to be at a funeral for the weekend. We're going to do the fundraiser at Cool FM, so I do need another driver.
You're always looking.
Mark,
for
I do need
drivers.
another driver.
I think I'm already tied up for that day.
So I do need another driver, so if,
How many, do you have all of us driving? Carlos and Jesse and myself?
I might be covered. I'll have to look at the schedule again. I need to send that out. That's probably gonna go out tomorrow, so that you know how we're stationing and this sort of thing. Should have a pretty good turnout, and I'm expecting at least one helicopter, possibly two. So we'll see. We stage right over here, and then we roll right into our final lineup. So thank you again. And if,
My pleasure. You know what would have made it easier for me?
what's that?
Number one, I didn't have to stand up, because I can't do that anymore. But seeing so many brothers of mine from the Vietnam era here, and people that I know,
Yeah.
makes it easier to talk to. I want to give a little story about
Sure.
joining.
Sure.
I joined the Vietnam. Oh, God. I changed my mind. No, I joined the Vietnam Veterans of America in it was 2005. Yeah, we were married. No, 1998. Yeah, longer than I thought. And I was, you used to go in those chat rooms on Yahoo and stuff like that that don't exist anymore. And I was in one with people in their 50s or 40s, I guess. And a couple people were talking about Vietnam. Of course, I clicked my ears up, even though you don't hear. And I got into the conversations, and I made friends with a few of the guys. One of them from Ohio sent me an application to join Vietnam Veterans of America and told me where to send it. So I send my application with a check for, I think it was $25 for a year to Silver Spring, Maryland, and I get a letter back in the mail. Dear Mr. Culin. We straightened that out. But then I went to look for a chapter to join in Connecticut, because that's where my husband and I had moved to when our children were younger. My friend in Ohio looked up in his thing and he found the president's name in Connecticut, and he gave me Ed's name and phone number and email address. So I emailed him that I'd like to join when is the next meeting. Well, you have to picture, this is the state of Connecticut going this way by this way, okay? I got it wrong. I don't know, I'm not good. Anyway, it's longer this way. It's wider than longer, but it's 100 miles from bottom to top. And we were near the very top. And Ed gave me the meeting time and date for a chapter in New Haven, which is right on the water. way down there. Well, it's an hour trip each way. I'm not gonna drive all that way. So then, and he wrote in his email back to me, "Dear Mr. Billie." That's exactly how he put it, Mr. Billie. Anyway, I hooked up with the VBA in 1998, and I've traveled a long road with them. I've been an officer at the chapter level, the state level, the national level, and then now back, retired, just a member, chapter. But we moved here to Arizona. I was friends with Bill Messer, who was the president of the state council in Arizona at that time. I said, "Do you have a chapter in Sun City?" He says, "No." I said, "Why not?" He says, "We don't." I said, "You can't tell me 53,000 homes or something like that." How many homes were there, Taylor? 38,000 homes, and there aren't any Vietnam veterans in that name, and they're all over 50? Come on. So I said, we moved here on June 3rd, June 3rd, 2010. I told Bill that I would have the incorporation papers and everything required to become a new chapter by the time he went to the October National Board meeting, which is where the guys are right now. I did it. And on October 26, 2010, Chapter 1043 was chartered. We had our FEIN, we had everything. So Bill says to me, "How did you do that in such short time?" I said, "I wanted to." I said, "I wasn't driving 19 miles into Phoenix at night." No, thank you. So, but anyway, I enjoy meeting with veterans and working. I am, by the way, a service officer. I still take care of some of my clients. I care about you guys, I really do. And I made a promise to myself that if I could become a service officer, I would. And I became accredited on August 1st, 2012. And I have worked my ass off since then, even still getting calls today. So, you need service officers? There are a lot of us out there. Just call us. Bye. That's it.
Back here, and we'll take a picture, and then you're on the road.